Hi, my love. So it was my birthday, and I saw a couple of different variations of the dress on the right, and I decided to recreate it for my birthday. And the recreation is the one on the left. So on this video, I'll be showing you guys how I was able to put the dress together, the drafting, the cutting, and the sewing. So if that's something you're interested in, keep watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you have not. Leave me a birthday prayer on the comment section, and let's get right into this video. For this tutorial, I'll be using about 2 yards of this white crepe fabric. I also have my zipper to match, my thread to match, my pins, which is very important, my marker, my ruler, and my scissors. I'll be drafting on this pattern paper, and let's get right into this video. For this tutorial, I'll be drafting the front pattern first, and to do that, I went ahead to fold my pattern paper into two, and I'll be drawing my starting line. Every other measurement I'll be placing is going to be after that starting line. The next thing I'll be doing is to mark out my horizontal measurements, and I'll be placing my chest line at 8, my bust point at 10, my under bust at 13, and my half length at 16. I'll be adding 1 inch joining allowance. I went ahead to mark out the points again just so that I have a straight line, and I'll be drawing straight lines across those points like so. And after doing that, I went ahead to label it. So I have my chest line, my bust point, my under bust point, and my waistline, and my hemming line. That's the 1 inch joining allowance to join the top to the skirt piece. And for the neck, I went in by 4 inches, and I divided my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I placed it there at 8 as well. I also placed my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on my chest line just so that I have a straight line coming from that point. That straight line is going to serve as my armhole line, and on that armhole line from the shoulder, I'll be coming down by 1 inch, and I'll be drawing a slant line to the neckline, which is going to serve as my shoulder slant. Now for the armhole, I went ahead to measure out the rest of the armhole line, divided it by 2, and marked. On that midpoint, I went in by half an inch, and on my chest line, I'm going to place my bust round divided by 4, and I'll be joining from the shoulder slant to the midpoint to the chest line with a curve to get my armhole curve. I will not be adding that to this particular dress because the fabric I'm working with is very stretchy. So I'm going to go ahead and place my round measurement, my bust round divided by 4 on my bust point, and my waist round divided by 4 on my waistline, and I will be joining it to the slant line and extending it into the armhole. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Now, after cutting out my pattern, I'm going to go ahead to open it up, and I will be marking out the neckline of this top. So I went ahead to use my curve ruler, and I just placed my curve ruler at the edge of that my shoulder line, and I'm going to make a curve from that point towards the armhole at the other end like this. So after doing that, I'm going to cut out my neckline. And this is what I have for the front piece. I'm going to go ahead to use the splash and spread method to add a little bit of printing to the shoulder. So what I did is that I came down from the shoulder point with about 5 inches, and I made about 3 points on the shoulder. I'm going to be drawing a slant line from the shoulder to this line. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut open these 3 lines. After opening it up, I'm going to go ahead and place a piece of pattern paper under it, and I will be taping it down. After doing that, I'm going to mark out about 1 inch from the first piece, and I'll place the second piece, and I'll mark out about 1 inch from the second piece and place the third piece, and I'll mark out about 1 inch from the third piece and place the last piece like so. I'm going to cut that out. After cutting out the excess paper, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and slash that line a little bit downward so that I have a little bit of balance around that area, and I'll be keeping this aside. I'm going to go ahead and mark out my back piece. You guys, I injured myself. I don't even know what I was doing, but that aside, let's continue this tutorial. So I'm placing my chest line at 8, my bust point at 10, my under bust at 13, and waistline at 16, adding 1 inch for the joining allowance, and I'll be drawing a line across those points like so. Now I'm going to be marking out my neck point at 4 and my shoulder point at 8, which is half of my shoulder point, and I'll also be placing half of my shoulder point on my chest line just so I have a straight line. I'm going to go ahead and label these lines, marking out my armhole just like I did for the front. I came down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slant, placed my tape, got the midpoint, went in on the midpoint by half an inch, and on the chest line I placed my bust round divided by 4 on my chest line, and I'll be joining from the shoulder slope to the midpoint to the chest line. Now for my round measurements, I'm not adding any dots, so I placed my bust round divided by 4 on my bust and my waist round divided by 4 on my waist, and I joined it together like this. For this back piece, I'm going to be adding my zipper allowance of about 1 inch, okay, on the armhole, on the bust point, on the under bust point, and on the waistline. I came out by 1 inch, and that is going to serve as my zipper allowance. And when I open it up, this is what it's looking like. Now I'm going to be placing my front piece on this back piece like this, the front side facing each other, and I'm going to trace out the neckline like so. Because it's going to be a zipper, I'm going to trim out the zipper allowance from this other end of this top, and I'll be placing it at the front piece like so and taping it down. Now after taping it down, this is what I have for the back piece and for the front piece. It's important to place it together, front side facing each other, when you're cutting it out. Okay, I'm going to be cutting this out on my fabric, and after cutting it out, this is what I have. I also went ahead to cut out facing pieces for both the back and the front, so we'll be able to turn the neckline and the armhole area. So now I'm going to start sewing, and to start sewing I went ahead to place my facing on my front piece, front sides facing each other. I'll be stitching about half an inch along the neckline and along the armhole curve. And after doing that, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and trim out the excess from the facing pieces, and I will be notching on my curves. After notching the curves, I'm going to be flipping that over and taking it to my ironing space. Now to iron it out, I'm going to get my hemming gum, and I'll be placing it along the neckline and along the armhole area. I'll be placing it in between the facing and the main fabric like so. If you have a steam iron, this is where your steam iron comes in, but if you don't, good and fine, just be like me. After putting my hemming gum in between the main fabric and the facing, I don't have a steam iron, so basically I'm going to sprinkle water on my fabric and I'll be ironing that out. I'm going to be pushing the edges with my hand so that it's lying neatly, because once that hemming gum holds it down, it's going to just remain like that. So I'm going to be adjusting it while ironing it like so, okay, so that I have a neat and clean finish. After ironing that out, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and pleat the shoulder area. So I'm going to pleat about 3 pleats, okay. This is the first one, pleat it, pin it down, pleat the second one, pin it down, pleat the last one and pin it down. I'll be taking it to my machine and I'll be stitching about half an inch across that point, and when I'm done, this is what I have. I'm going to be placing this aside and I'll be working on the back piece. For the back piece, I went ahead to do the same thing I did for the front, placed my main fabric on my facing fabric, and I went ahead to stitch about half an inch along the neckline and along the armhole area like so. I'm going to be trimming out the excess from the facing, notching my curves and flipping that over. Now I'm going to take it to my ironing table. I'll be placing hemming gum along the neckline area and along the armhole area, and I'll be sprinkling water and ironing that down. You want to be really careful when you're ironing, pushing out the edges of your dress so that it's lying nicely, okay. Okay, after ironing that out, this is what I have. I'll be placing my top pieces aside and I'll be drafting the skirt piece. I'll be drafting the back pattern first and later I'll be adjusting it to fit in for the front pattern, okay? Okay, now to cut the skirt piece, I'm going to be placing my tape at point 15 at the starting point. That's 1 inch for the joining allowance. I'll be placing my hip point at 24, my slant point at 35, my knee point at 38. For the full length, I'll be adjusting it while cutting on my fabric because this pattern paper is too short for the length that I want. So I'll be adjusting it on my fabric, but I'll just use this point as the full length for the purpose of this tutorial, and I'll be drawing a straight line across those points like so. So I'm going to label that I have my waistline, my hip, my slant, and my knee point. Now I'm going to go ahead place my waist round measurement divided by 4 on my waistline, my hip round divided by 4 on my hip round divided by 4 minus 1 on that slant line, on my knee line and on the full length, and I'll be joining these points. So I'll be joining from my waist to my hip with a curved line, from my hip to the slant line with a curve as well, and then from my knee point I'll be having a straight line all the way to the full length. Okay, I also went ahead to add about 1 inch on the waist point, on the hip point and on the knee point to serve as my zipper allowance, and I'll be joining those points with a curve. I tried to do it with my free hand, did not agree, so I'm going back to my ruler. Thank you, God bless you. So after joining these points with my ruler, it's going to serve as my zipper allowance. Remember that the zipper allowance is on one side of this dress, so I'll be adjusting it after cutting it out on my fabric. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out this pattern. The slant line is literally where the slant by the side of the dress is going to start. It's not going to get to the knee point, so that's why I have that slant point, and I will be notching it while cutting it on my fabric. I'll be cutting this pattern on a fold on my fabric, and remember to adjust your full length to any length you want it to be. It's just going to be straight from that knee point all the way to the length that you want it to be. And when I cut it out on my fabric, this is what I have and this is what I have for my full length. Okay, I'm going to take that out and I'll be adjusting this pattern paper to use it to cut out my front piece. And for that front piece, what I just did was that from the waist point, I'll be coming down with about 2 inches. After that 2 inches, I'll be marking about 7 1-inch points from that point. So after marking it, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line across that point. After doing that, I'm going to label those points. So I have about 5 of those pieces and I'm going to cut open those lines that I just drew now. So I have the first piece, second piece, I have the third piece, I have the fourth piece, finally the fifth piece. Okay, now I'm going to be placing my pattern on a fresh pattern paper. After attaching my fresh pattern paper, I went ahead to mark 1-inch points, about 10 of them. Now I'm going to start placing all those my pieces. So first I'll be placing the fifth piece closer to the hip line and I'll leave about 1-inch gap and place the second piece, that's the fourth piece, leave about 1-inch gap and place the third piece. Okay, so that's the 1-inch marks that we made initially. I'll just be skipping 1 inch. Okay, so after the third piece I'll leave 1-inch space and attach the second piece, and 1-inch space and attach the first piece, and then the last piece, which is the waist, I made a 1-inch mark and I'm going to be attaching it there. This is all the adjustments we need for this front piece. I'm going to be cutting out from my waistline all the way down to my hip like so. Okay, and this is what we have for our front pattern. I'm also going to be adjusting the full length like I did for the back, and when I was done, this is what I have. Okay, I'm going to open up both the front and the back piece, okay, because it's a side zipper that we are working with. So this part of the dress is the part without the zipper, so I just went ahead to cut out the zipper allowance. And I'll be working on the front piece now. I went ahead to place my pattern paper and notched the beginning and the end of where I have my pleat. Now I'm going to go and run a loose stitch along the lines where I notched, and after running that loose stitch I'm going to be dragging the thread so that I'm able to gather the fabrics around that area. So just draw the thread so that I gather that part of the dress. Okay, after doing that, this is what I have. On my pattern paper, I'm going to go ahead and pleat those extensions like so. Basically trying to remove it from the pattern paper that we used to cut out this front piece. So I'm just going to fold them in. After folding them in like so, I'm going to go ahead and measure from the waistline to the point like so, and I have about 7 inches there. That means that I'm going to make sure that this gathers stop at that 7-inch mark. Okay, so I went ahead to adjust that point. Okay, gather the fabric around there well so it's up to that 7-inch mark, and I'll be tying it up. And I'll be doing it for the other side of the dress. Measured about 7 inches, gathered my fabric so that is up to 7 inches, and I'll be tying that. After doing that, this is what I have for the front piece. Now I'll be placing the front pieces of the top on these front pieces of the skirt. I'll be placing it front side facing each other, and I'll be pinning it down. Okay, after pinning down the waist, I'll take it to my machine and I'll be sewing about 1 inch across that point like so. And when I was done, this is what I have. Now I'll be working on the back piece. I'm basically just going to be attaching the skirt part of the back piece to the top part of the back piece basically. So I went ahead to place my skirt parts front side facing each other on the back piece, and I'll be pinning that down. And after pinning it down, I'll take it to my machine and I'll be sewing along that waistline with about 1 inch. Okay, after doing that, this is what I have. I went ahead to trim that joining, and this is what I have for the back piece. Now I'm going to be placing my front piece on this back piece. Okay, making sure that the shoulders align. Okay, so now that my front piece is on my back piece, front side facing each other, I'll be placing the shoulder of my front piece in between the facing and the main fabric of the back piece like so, and I'm going to adjust that just so that it fits in nicely. And after doing that, I'm going to pin it down, making sure that the two edges meet inside. Now I'm going to take it to my machine and I'll be stitching about 3/4 of an inch across that point. And when I was done, this is what I have. I went ahead to trim out the excesses so that the shoulder is not looking bulgy, and I'll be flipping over my facing, and this is what I have. Okay, as you can see, it fits right inside of that place like so. The rough edges is not showing, it's inside. Now I'm going to go ahead and place my dress, okay, front side facing each other, and I'm going to go ahead and shape this side of dress, that's the side without the zipper. I'll be taking it to my machine and I will be pinning the armhole together, the waist point together, and I will start pinning from the full length of the dress down so that any excess that is remaining is going to remain around this hip area. I'm going to take that to my machine and I'll be stitching that down. While shaping, the measurement I'm using is my round measurement divided by 4 minus 1. So for my bust, I'm going to do my bust round divided by 4 minus 1. For my waist round divided by 4 minus 1. I'm subtracting that one because this fabric is very stretchy. And when I was done, this is what I have. Okay, now for the part that has the zipper, I'm going to go ahead and place my fabric together like so, and I'll be marking out my measurements. For my bust round, I placed my bust round divided by 2 minus 1 and I marked it. On my waist, I placed my waist round divided by 2 on my waist, and I also marked that out. And on my hip, I placed my hip round divided by 2 minus 1 on my hip, and I marked it out. Okay, now I'm going to be placing my zipper at those points like so. I'm going to try to trace out those points in front of the fabric, and I'll be placing my zipper like so and pinning it down. After pinning it down, I'm going to take it to my machine and I'll be stitching very close to the teeth of the zipper like so. And after doing that, this is what I have. I'm going to be closing the zipper and I'll be notching along that waistline area so that it will be matching with the other pieces. Okay, so now I'm going to be fixing the zipper on the front piece, and to do that I'm going to go ahead and pin my fabric starting from the full length all the way up. And now I'll be placing my measurements on that part of the dress. Okay, I went ahead to place my bust round divided by 2, my waist round divided by 2, and my hip round divided by 2. Now I'll be pinning the part of the zip that I notched around the waist area first, okay, so that it's aligning with that of the back. Then I will be tracing out the place that I marked as my bust point and pinning my zip to that part, and also on my waist round, okay. Now after doing that, I will take it to my machine and I will be stitching very close to the teeth of the zip. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and close up the zip, okay, and I'll be stopping at that point where I notched for the slant piece. After doing that, I'll be folding in the slant area and I will be hemming the dress, and this is the final look. Hope this video was able to help you. If it did, let me know in the comment section. Like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section. Subscribe if you have not, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.